Are we live? All right, well, I'll go ahead and call this August 1st meeting of the Riley County Commission to order. Please, everybody join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hopefully everybody survived and made it through last night's storm. That was quite interesting. It was noisy, yeah. Woke up to some damaged tree limbs and fortunately I missed everything important, so got them. Hey, interesting thing driving up here is it's August. Everything's lush and green. Something I'm not used to. Last year it was scorched earth, so very much so change of pace. So we'll go ahead and start off with some public comments. Anybody? Okay, seeing none, we'll close off the public comment section and we'll move on to commissioner comments. Start with Commissioner McCandler.
Well, it's heavy. Got to meet everyone. Cancel this week. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see, Tuesday afternoon, I attended a meeting with kids. Discuss the schedule going forward, the property owner and sign process. We discussed the funding and reporting requirements which have changed and how we need to proceed. PG consultants will be at our meeting on Monday with proposed to sign. We'll need to communicate with the community and the process going forward. And Shane send information to Amanda to use a community email. And we need to schedule a meeting with the community in the next several months. In the email, he outlines the structure of the community and check the collateral fields and plot everything out. So what they want people to do. Stranger Steps backyard. Yeah. So. Wednesday, I spent lots of hours going over quotes on homeowner or auto insurance policies. As I received some notices on increases, so I gave it about half a day, and I said, "That's it." Yeah. That was it. So, then I came to the office and picked up the mail and computer. Thanks to me. Last night, Wednesday evening, I attended Keith's monthly meal. Organizers wanted to get more families involved, so they had some inflatables and other games for children. It worked really well as there was a large crowd that attended plus faces. So they had to pull out some extra tables. I've never seen that before. So it could have lasted longer than the large storm started moving. People were leaving pretty fast. And I got close to my house, there was a huge shelf front almost on top of it. It was really ferocious when I got inside. So I scrambled around, brought plants in, put some chairs down out on my porch. But I've never seen anything quite like that. That's where I live now. It was like no trees came down, there were a bunch of limbs, but there was a lot of leaves. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, as for me, Monday afternoon, I had a Zoom call with Tom Dobbins and Ben Weebo from Make My Move. Discuss a couple of items, catch up on some previous dialogue, and get a few questions of my own answered along the way. Appreciated both gentlemen's time and appreciated Tom stopping into Manhattan last month in person for the first time to chat with everybody as well. Tuesday afternoon, I had my monthly civic and social responsibilities meeting with members of staff out of Florence Corporation. That's where I work at. So among the items of discussion was continued dialogue on employee volunteer opportunities with Habitat for Humanity in the Northern Flint Hills and Manhattan Emergency Shelter. And we kicked around a couple of other possibilities as well. We also discussed the school supply drive that can be done internally in the month of August, and a clothing drive for both adults and kids to back that up in September. There'll be several other events and drives that we'll be working on throughout the remainder of 2024, as well as the holiday season. It doesn't seem like it, but it's just right around the corner. We'll also start discussing appointments for this committee starting for in 2025 as well. Let's see, guess that's not Wednesday afternoon, I actually should be today. Thursday afternoon, earlier today, I attended the August meeting of the Riley County Mental Health Task Force. Actions items discussed for the last meeting included work on a possible subcommittee, discussing on the legitimacy for this task force. I know that's something we've brought up and discussed already. New agenda items included approval of the minutes from the last meeting, a presentation from Deb and us at the Flint Hills Wellness Coalition on the white pages. Basically, it's kind of describing the mental health status currently in the state. It'll be going out public at some point in time if it hasn't already. Got an update from the Crisis Innovation Committee. This subgroup includes Crystal Pratt, Captain Mark French from RCPD, Becky Woodard, and Brent Haverkamp from Pawnee Mental Health, Josh Gehring, Riley County EMS, and Adam Jobson, who's a private practitioner in town. This group's three main goals will be to work on mobile crisis in the area. Safe place to go. It's a new thing. I'm not really for sure on that. I have to get caught up on it. Lastly, the integration of the 988 911 system. Dialogue was had on transportation needs being met, where that might come from, and a shared definition of mental health circumstances and crisis in general. Lastly, I'd like to just mention that I've been reappointed to the National Association of Counties Community Economic and Workforce Development Committee for the 5th year, and the Veteran and Military Services Committee for year number 2, and also been appointed as a vice chair for that Veteran and Military Services Committee. So looking excited for both opportunities and looking forward to serving on both committees and getting some stuff done. So that's all I've got.
Okay, Commissioner, no business items, but are there anything just a minute?
Nothing here.
Board Riley County Commissioners for the meeting on July 29th.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the July 29th meeting of the Riley County Commission as written. All in favor?
Lieutenant Jones, the Commissioners.
On the 8th, have a 11:30 lunch appointment. I know the last item scheduled on there was 10:55, but tighten it up just a little bit and don't put anything on afterwards or I'm gonna be struggling.
Okay.
And then that would be.
Anything else, Commissioners? Any items for next week's press conference? We have Brian Parker at 6:45.
Well, how long?
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay, we'll get you in there.
I don't have much to share during my report, so it should be very brief. And we could probably work it in.
Okay, I'll go ahead and let you speak now if you'd like.
Thank you for this opportunity. First, I'd like to thank you for coming to Leonardville tonight. I'm aware that not all of you see a benefit to holding these meetings. With the minimal attendance tonight, I can understand your point of view. Resident interest in city and county government appears limited to a very small percentage of the population. This is reflected throughout the country and at all levels of government. City, county, state, and federal. However, personally, I hope you'll continue to visit and hold meetings here. Your absence would simply reinforce the idea that the voice of the average resident will have no influence on your decisions. Remembering the turnout that we had at the hearing to determine whether and where to place a new ambulance station and the influence that had on your budget decisions, I believe that face-to-face meetings like this are important. Not only are these meetings important in the abstract, but the individuals in attendance choose to do so regularly and with great interest, normally. Hearing from you what the county is doing on our behalf, or even to us against our wishes, provides us with insight into what actions we individually or as a city may wish to take. I'd like to thank the commission for supporting the new ambulance station, which has been open now for almost 1 year. The sirens, while annoying to some, are a daily reminder that previously residents in the northern portion of the county had to wait much longer for needed medical treatment and transportation. Can we expect a year-over-year report detailing the number of responses in the northern portion of the county? Thank you. I'd also like to thank the county for its continued support of many types. Police and fire support, as well as hazardous waste management, are among the many services we benefit from. Our seniors eagerly await the decision on funding for the Council on Agencies weekly meals. We appreciate the funding we have received over the years and the difficulty in making these types of decisions. I've heard rumors that there is some concern about how the funds are spent. I assume there is a concern that our seniors are not paying our fair share, or that funds are being spent on feeding ineligible individuals, or that our meals are too lavish. Please let me and the other Council on Aging representatives know of your concerns so we can provide you with the necessary information to demonstrate our efforts to be good stewards of public funds. One of the areas I'd like to hear about more regularly is O'Reilly County strategic planning. Although Leonardville and the other cities may not be directly impacted by the county's decisions, they do affect us. Infrastructure, technology upgrades, and economic development all encourage or discourage current residents to stay in Leonardville and future residents to move into Leonardville. Information posted either on the county government or individual commissioners' Facebook pages would be very helpful. This may be a good place to mention that I've heard the county has held property taxes to the revenue neutral rate this year. I think that will be helpful to a great number of people. With an increased property assessment, the taxes may be about the same, but still, they might not go up this year. A second thing I'd like to hear more about is a very recently signed contract with Prairie Paws to manage the animal shelter. Our residents realize that at this time, there is no animal control function at the county level, but having an animal shelter available to take stray or abandoned dogs and cats is a move in the right direction. The third thing I'd like to hear more about is a newly implemented county nuisance ordinance. Each small city has nuisance properties, and the inability to enforce our ordinances or to collect the cost related to the city's rehabilitation of those properties is a major obstacle to bringing in new residents. Buildings which are empty and should be condemned pay very few taxes and spread the cost of city services across a smaller tax base. It is reported that rural Kansas faces a housing shortage. Encouraging the owners of these empty houses to sell or rent would go a long ways towards resolving that shortage. We have a great town in which to live. It's a reasonable commute to Manhattan, Fort Riley, or Clay Center for work. People want to live here. What we don't have are empty lots on which to build or homes to buy or rent. Understanding what the county will be doing in this area and what success you may have might allow Leonardville to replicate that process. We don't want to be in the business of forcing people out of their homes or selling against their will. But I believe that anything which improves the appearance of the town and provides room for new residents will benefit everyone. Some will say that rural Kansas towns are failing. If that is so, and I don't believe it, then Leonardville is the exception. Our town has maintained its population for the past 100 years at a fairly stable number. Since 1920, our population has fluctuated only between 342 and 449 residents. We are currently at the upper end of that range. Why is Leonardville remaining viable? I believe that there are several reasons for this. There are a number of areas where Leonardville is doing quite well. Several new businesses have opened in the past few years. A renovated Sykes building has been operating as an event center and as a place for community events, classes, and where families can celebrate together. They're also holding fiber arts classes and, of course, continuing to host a variety of craft fairs. Although Nelson's Landing cannot be replaced, the excellent Cancun restaurant is operating daily. People who had limited meal options before are now coming to town for a dine-in experience. Palmer and Company is another relatively new business to town. They create custom keepsakes, gifts, and home decor, among many other products. And of course, there are local businesses which have been located here for many years. The Store, Rocket S Ranch Supply, G&G Enterprises, T's Longhorn, Furnace 109 are just some of the more visible processes. And also, of course, the larger companies such as the Riley State Bank and Outdoor Bank, along with the Central Valley Ag Co-op and our telephone internet provider, Twin Valley, all contribute much to the community. Our community improvement organizations, such as the Leonardville Area Business Association, Leonardville Pride, and Light Up 66449, all work to make life better for residents. Recreational opportunities at the baseball diamonds and golf course provide athletic venues for large numbers of youth and adults. The Leonardville Nursing Home and Bennigan Acres allow people to live comfortably without the need to leave family and lifelong friends. So if Leonardville is doing so well, what do we need from you? I think it would be very useful for the county to create a listing of grant opportunities. Our smaller cities do not have the staff to research the various federal, state, and corporate grants on our own. Many of us have no experience with finding these resources. A single point on the county website to which we could contribute would allow us to find grant opportunities, deadlines, and associated submission requirements in a timely manner. Often, we only hear about grants only when the deadline is so close that we do not have the ability to submit our proposals. I think this would be a low-cost effort with the potential to have a large economic benefit. What benefits the cities will also benefit the county. Lastly, tonight, I'd like to invite you to come back on 9 and 10 August for Leonardville Hullabaloo. This is our annual festival and an opportunity to showcase the town. Almost every organization will host events. The weekend includes events such as the Lions Club Friday night ranch rodeo with 4-H provided meal. On Saturday, there'll be free car, motorcycle, and antique tractor shows, a golf tournament, a softball tournament, air guitar, best legs and knobby knees challenge, and inflatable at the nursing home. Of course, there are also parades, many opportunities to eat, and craft vendors. Saturday afternoon, the K-State Pep Band performs, followed that evening by the Mother's Worry Band. The list is long and always exciting. Again, thank you for the opportunity to share my enthusiasm for living in Leonardville, a great place to live and thrive.
Thank you very much. If I could get your name for the record.
Chris Schultz. Last name is spelled Shoults.
Appreciate that very much. Since we have a member of EMS here, Josh.
Yeah.
What would it take to? But moving forward, keeping everybody updated, what would it take to get maybe somebody at one of the city commission meetings every now and again to update them on those numbers in the future.
I think it wouldn't be a problem at all. It's readily available data.
That'd be something to think about.
Hi,
Can you hang out for just a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
So Chris can talk to you.
sir. Yes.
We'll see what we can do about that, to make that. Had some really good stuff in that presentation, appreciate it. Moving on.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Shall I sit or stand? What's easiest for everyone? It's a
Well,
little,
we don't really technically have a podium per se, so we can just look at it about it.
Stand up.
well, sure, I'll do a high. Stand right next to us. People can make eye contact, however. Yeah, that's right. I'll adopt my general nervous stance. Brian Parker, Deputy County Counselor, standing in for Clancy this evening, who's off busy writing a brief. Few things I wanted to update you on. First of all, it's always interesting to do administrative report on behalf of the counselor's office because we're involved in a great many things right now. But most of them come up through our department heads, as you would expect. So the thing I wanted to talk a little bit about this evening, and Mayor, hopefully I don't steal too much of your thunder, but you brought up an excellent point. I wanted to talk a little bit about where we are at with the new statute for nuisance abatement. Okay. Long story short, and for reasons that probably make sense for the county overall, right? But that sometimes may not always make the most sense in a specific, one of our smaller cities. That act only applies in the unincorporated areas, right? And it's really difficult for the state legislature to make something applicable, right, only to certain cities in a location versus everywhere. And so Manhattan already had their own processes and we didn't want to step on toes. So go ahead.
If I may interject, most of your municipalities, small cities included, have constitutional home rule. They can actually go back through, they can develop
Yes.
an ordinance on their own and then be able to actually enforce it. This is why we had to have that set.
Yes, and that's an excellent point. In fact, there's state statute that allows for, I used to wear a city hat throughout the state, so there's state statute that allows for that as well. But that's not to say that we're not interested in doing everything that we can to be helpful, but I did think it was probably a good idea to clarify that we're at this point, since we're constrained to the statute, we're focused on the unincorporated areas. And to that end, while there's been some infrastructure that we've been putting in place, I've been in coordination with Barry Wilkerson's office, had dialogue already, and there's an upcoming meeting that will further our process. It looks like I will be appointed as a special county attorney, deputy county attorney to handle these cases so that we can make sure that there's continuity throughout, right? And to that end, planning and development, we've reviewed and updated the list. We've had some voluntary compliance. And I wonder if some of that wasn't due to some of the excellent communication that happened through our PIO, Ms. Vivian Leba. So that's overall what I wanted to cover in this report. And I am updating, I'm going through and doing my own version of Clancy's that we talked about at last meeting. I tell you what, I am, not to break my arm, patting myself on the back, but I've touched a lot of things in a short period of time and am very, very happy with how well I've been received by county staff. It's been a very great experience so far. So good. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Kushner, it's
I didn't say I was gonna talk for you, I said, those would be people to contact, I think that's,
Well,
I
I
don't mind. That's the only, we'll see. Yeah.
We don't see all.
Well, this thing, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to talk about John, he's gonna put it all together, have one cook in the kitchen rather than a bunch. Process, I had to take those guys and route the day.
Okay. It gave me my some of the make sure that.
Yeah. Tell them that's who they need to contact, you know, if they get things together. Yeah, that's the thing this year, at least we've had the rain. That's 4 or 5 years. Across here. Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Come up and check out air guitar.
Yeah, I heard, yeah, I thought you.
That's one of my things, yeah.
11 to 12 in front of the library.
I think I might just do that.
Yeah, there's still. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Josh.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. Josh Gehring, Assistant Director, EMS Ambulance. Here for a brief update on Station 5 operations. So first up, calls for service between November 1st, 2023 and June 2024, 238 calls for service. That 238 includes 911 responses as well as interfacility transfers. So an interfacility transfer is when someone is being cared for at the local hospital, requires a different level of care, more definitive care, and we take them from the local hospital to one of those destination hospitals, typically Topeka, Kansas City, or Wichita. Also, as expected, a number that we're pretty proud of, a reduction in response times. So the average response time in Randolph, Riley, and Leonardville for Medic 51 here at Station 5 is 7 minutes across those 238 calls. We're pretty proud of that. I hope you all are proud of that too. It's an exciting number. We're very pleased to share it tonight. Next up, a building update. Schultz Construction reports that there's still some touch-up painting to be done. The goal is to have that finished by mid to late August. It's a nice cozy station. Come by anytime and pay us a visit. It's decorated real nice, very comfortable. The crews are feeling at home there. So speaking of crews, a little bit about Station Life. Crews report they are enjoying the change in pace a little bit. It's a little bit of a slower call volume than some of the other stations that they rotate through. With that slow pace, though, comes kind of an interesting thing. So I was blessed to be a paramedic in a super rural and also a super inner city service prior to coming here. And transporting someone from a rural area like this really kind of gives you an opportunity to not only do a much more detailed assessment, get a little bit further in your clinical protocols, but also kind of have a little bit of a lengthier conversation with the people that are in the back of the ambulance with you. And that's not something we get an opportunity to do a terrible amount of time there in the city. So it's kind of neat. It's neat as a clinician to be able to do that, to have that opportunity. And I know our crews are enjoying the same. We've participated in a little bit of training with County Fire. We've been involved in a couple community events up here in the North County. We participated in a bike rodeo recently that we had a lot of fun at. We're going to be doing another one of those in Ogden in August. So yeah, just enjoying Station Life. Crews are settling in well. We're pleased to be up here. We're enjoying it. And we're very proud of that number of share. Any questions that anybody has, I'd be happy to answer. Okay. Thanks for having me. Take care.
7:15 or whatever you want.
I think we can go ahead and do it now if you want.
Okay, I think that sounds like an excellent plan. Commissioner.
This still scrolls down there. Oh, yeah, there we go. Are the notes on here or no, Rich? This is just, nope, here we go.
It should be.
All right. I didn't think this far enough through because I have a fancy photograph on here and I didn't think of the facilities, but good evening, commissioners. Mike Bowler with the Riley County Noxious Weed and Household Hazardous Waste. It is a pleasure to be here in Leonardville. It is an excellent little community, and I think you'll find that these little communities have just recently, my wife and I have discovered the restaurants that are popping up here. And there's several great ones in Riley and in the North County and Randolph, and then the new restaurant here. So that is a great kept secret and we love it. We travel from Manhattan all the time to eat up here. So thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight. Noxious weed, on the noxious weed side, we have completed all of our spraying for contracted townships. We had 7 of those this year, which is a little more than usual. And then we'll be continuing to do spot spraying for the month of August. That will include spot spraying for Johnson grass and for those townships that have asked for that service, plus the KDOT contract. So that'll be going through the month of August. Our second round of mowing is about 40% complete. That is about right where we want to be this time of year. And what's significant about that is you may not be aware that I've been down an operator here for almost a month. He suffered a significant injury and was out for over a month, but we're pleased to have him back. But during his absence, we focused more on paved roads so that a lot of the impact of the citizens of the community wouldn't really see the impact. And I think that worked out pretty well. And now that we've got him back up and running, we're going to be going back and focusing on touching up the gravel roads. So if anybody's noticed the gravel roads might be a little bit behind, I think you'll find here in the next couple of weeks, we'll catch up. And probably mid-month, we will be ahead of schedule of where we expected to be. So very pleased about that. Maintaining lagoon ponds continues for the month of August. We've been mowing out Deep Creek and Terra Heights. KDHE has got on the county a little bit because they have a 12-inch standard of grass, which running lagoon ponds, not golf courses, but because of the taller grass, you've got to keep the wind flow over. So 12 inches or lower it is. And so with that, we'll need to be mowing it out more frequently, probably 4 or 5 times a year as opposed to 2 or 3. So that's something that my department has agreed to take on. So we'll get that taken care of, but they've just been mowed out. As we were discussing earlier, we did have a very mild spring. We had some excellent rains and cooler temperatures. And although that helps yields on wheat, it also manifests perfect conditions for noxious weeds. And we, as along with every other county in the state, seen an increase in musk thistle this year. And so I have started kind of a bit of an education program, if you will, encouraging that we do fall spraying for that. A lot of times owners, if they don't know they have musk thistle, by the time it bolts, which is in the second year, it's a biennial plant. It's almost too late to spray it. I get a lot of phone calls, complaints that there's a pasture that has musk thistle that's already got the big purple head on it, and your window to get it sprayed and keep it viable from going to seed is 30 days or lower. So by the time you get it sprayed, it's almost too late. So for that reason, I'm really encouraging we focus on fall spraying for that particular species of plant. I have had the opportunity to go on KSNT morning show and do a live show for that and discuss that process. But you will probably hear me discussing this for the next couple of months upcoming in commission meetings. And I hope to maybe get a spot on K-Man on the morning show to discuss it as well. I've also been working with the new employee with the extension office, Ethan Sylvester. I think he's going to be an excellent hire. And he and I are kind of coordinating and he's giving me an opportunity to get the word out through his venues as well. So with that, I'm also going to be at the state fair this year discussing that, but I just want to encourage and let landowners know that we are getting a lot more people that are moving to the county that might not be aware of what noxious weeds are. I actually got a complaint 2 years ago, and when I showed up, they loved the K-State purple flowers. And they actually, I won't say they were planting them, but they certainly weren't treating them because they thought they were very unique looking. But that's an example of once I let them know, they were very cooperative. And what we have to have is voluntary compliance. I have to have voluntary compliance to fight this battle. But since I've made them aware it's a noxious weed, has to be treated. They've been one of our better customers. They've bought chemical from us and getting treating. So it's really on me to help educate folks and let them know that the county provides resources. We have cost share chemical. But we also have rental equipment that they can use to come and help us battle the noxious weeds. So I just want to put it out there. There are resources available to help us with that battle. On the HHW side, we are doing another Howie's clean out August 10th. From 8 to noon. Again, there will be no business waste accepted there. Any truckloads of waste will need to be brought out to our facility. And the Riley County HHW also has recycled latex paint to give away. That has been just, the demand for that is just growing and growing and growing. And I've had individuals come out that want to know what the secret sauce is because it's some of the best paint they've ever had. So I guess maybe mixing all the brand names paint together, you come up with a super paint.
Stop calling Sherwood.
Yeah. So there's that on that end. And then we have seen an increase in the amount of material. This was one day's collection. We had over 2,200 pounds come in one day. That's a little more than usual, but not a crazy amount. The most we've ever had is at a Howie's clean out. We had 12,000 pounds. So imagine almost 10 times that photograph in one day. So Rich has often said we'd rather hire good people and overwork them than have to hire more people and not overwork them. So I can assure you that I subscribe to that point of view as well. And Justin is just doing an outstanding job with us. We're the third largest processor hazardous waste in the state. And the first two have 7 employees each, full-time employees. We have 1. So proud of that. Just thought that I'd like to show just kind of what a day in the life of him is and making sure that citizens of the community realize what they're getting for the money.
Tell Justin we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. He's an excellent employee. On the last bit, I will be at the CWDA K State meeting in Hutchinson on August 8th. I did receive a phone call in case you ever want to know if anybody ever watches this on Facebook. I did get a call from a neighboring county that they're having their sewer system conference. There is such a thing. It's going to be in Manhattan this year. And they seen my presentation of duckweed and they want me to come and be the resident expert on duckweed, I guess. And so I'm happy to say we did treat our lagoon ponds with duckweed. Yeah, the word gotten out on the duckweed. Yeah, it got out, but we did finally, it takes about 30 or 40 days, but we did it right. I kind of consider myself a bit of a conservationist. And so any impact to the wildlife is very important to me. And so it has to be done right, but it took about 30 or 40 days, but all lagoon ponds are now duck free. And we didn't have any oxygen depletion, no fish kill, no frog kill, none of that. So I guess that stands why I get to come talk about it at the state conference this year. And then finally, the Noxious Weed Department will be assisting the elections August 5th, 6th, and 7th. Most of our office staff will be assisting with that at different times in the day, but I just want to let you know our office will still be open and operational. And finally, when we talk about hours of operation, we are open on Fridays until 4. There has been a couple of public service announcements, and they always say public works, and it's fine. We kind of get lumped into that, but I just want to put the word out that the noxious weed is open until 4 on Fridays as well, because we've seen an increased calls of, are you open? Are you? So just want to put that out there. So we've had a pretty productive month. Happy with where we're at, and I stand for any questions, commissioners. You have.
What is this sewer system conference in the
Well, it's going to be October 8th, as I recall. It's going to be at the Bluemont. And essentially, maintaining lagoon ponds and duckweed is, we kind of laugh and joke about it, but it's a big deal. It can really choke out a lagoon pond. It can make it not do what it's supposed to do with the bacteria in the pond and how it mitigates that. And so, among other things, they will have a conference, but during these conferences, we get training on boots on the ground sort of thing. And they've dedicated a full hour for me to speak. I don't know if I can do a full hour on duckweed, but I'm sure I can come up with some taste testing. Yeah, well, duckweed is very edible. Like I said in the last one, it is a high protein
Just make
food.
sure it doesn't come from the actual.
You don't
pond,
want it
but-
coming from the lagoon pond. No, I make no mistake. I'm not encouraging to eat duckweed off the lagoon pond, but it is a viable source, and it is called duckweed for 2 reasons. Ducks eat it and they thrive off of it. And then ducks also move duckweed on their feathers and other parts of the duck when they fly in. So that's how, when you're treating a lagoon pond for duckweed, it's kind of a continuous deal. It's not a one and done, just like noxious weeds aren't a one and done. I tell everybody it's a marathon, not a sprint. But good question. Thank you. I'll fill you in more. I have not had the opportunity to go there, and just got a phone call that said somebody's seen on Facebook and they said, get me that guy on duckweed here at the conference. So I'm the guy, the duckweed guy, I guess. Any other questions,
We're
Commissioner?
gonna have to get some pictures drawn.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's pretty powerful superhero.
Well, I've got a picture in my office of me sitting on a boat,
Yeah.
and it looks like I'm fishing, and people say, well, it must be nice to be able to fish on duty time. And I said, well, I'm not fishing, I'm spraying duckweed.
Sure you are.
There's-
Slow advance. Go through.
Yeah, Yeah.
We expand and just kind of take over.
it absolutely does. It can replicate, it can double its population in less than 24 hours. Yes, and that's exactly what it does. It chokes everything else out around it. Like all noxious weeds, and duckweed is not much different other than it grows on the water, but noxious weed deplete the soil of nutrient, water, and then ultimately sunlight. And if you take any one of those 3 away from our native species of plants, they will die. And noxious weed and duckweeds all share a pretty common characteristic, and that's that they're prolific reproducers. 20,000 seeds, or they grow just crazy quick compared to everything else. And they deplete one of those 3 resources And then you end up with a monoculture where you end up in an entire lagoon pond with nothing but duckweed. So yeah, it has to be kept in check.
For conferences.
It is the reason for conference. Yes, sir. Thank you, commissioners.
That's some of my favorite mascots. The ESPN commercials, he's not quite the personality. But I'll take Willie over him, but I'm still. Okay, well, Mike's presentation was the last thing on the agenda, so. Have a quick meeting tonight, but it is what it is. I don't have anything else to add.
I have an idea. So, maybe to get more people to come to our meetings, we ought to get some inflatables. Go work in Keats,
There's a playground back there. So all that pizza there is better.
But I'm gonna go with what Rich was saying.
maybe something.
The reality of it is nobody has any pressing issues about anything, they're not gonna come to a meeting. You know, when we're here, it was mentioned earlier, when we were here for the original EMS discussion, I think there was 200 something people, and that was a real thing. Regular meeting like this, where we just have a couple of staff updates and talk about a few things, isn't gonna stir the pot. Doesn't matter if we do that at 6:30 in the afternoon or 8:30 in the morning, that's just how it is. Is it worth doing? I'm sitting here and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 members of staff besides us. 5, 6 technically. And they're after hours. You know, we've talked about giving more people time and time to themselves, and this kind of doesn't do that necessarily, so. Majority wants to do that, I'll go along with it, that's fine.
It gets us out too. I think it's beneficial to me to be out here. I've been before, but it's really.
We do appreciate your presentation tonight, that was good, really good.
Maybe August first meeting or 10th.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the August 1st meeting of the Riley County Commission. All in favor? Aye.
Good to get it. All right.
These are the